Yes, Mr. Millett, I understand there's some unfinished business.
There is, Mr. Chairman, and this is entirely my fault, I'm afraid. There is one further question I feel I need to put to the witness.
All right. Thank you. If Mr. Burd is there, would you ask him to come in, please? Mr. Burd, I think there's something that Mr. Millett needs to put to you.
Of course, sir.
Sorry. Right.
There is, Mr. Burd. Can I take it that you are treating...
Sorry, Mr. Millett, before you ask the question, and simply for the form's sake, but for the benefit of other people who might need to be reminded, you must treat yourself as still under the affirmation.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was about to give that warning myself, but it's obviously better coming from you. Mr. Burd, I'm sorry not to have asked you this. I was so intrigued by the back page of ADP that I didn't ask it. But you've been in the witness box now for 2.5 days, and I'm sorry for keeping you there for so long. But looking back on the evidence that you've given and everything we've been through, and looking back on your time in the department those many years, and the events of Grenfell Tower on the night of the 14th of June 2017, is there anything that you would have done differently?
Yes, there is, sir.
What is that?
From my perspective, the first two have been covered over the course of my evidence these past few days. We covered the development of the BR135 and the pass-fail criteria and the full-scale testing that was undertaken. If I could have done anything different, I'd have better assured that between us and the BRE that information would have been published when the BR135 itself was published. If not then certainly when the approved document B came out for consultation, it should have been published then. We've covered it in today's session, Mr. Millett, but with the benefit of hindsight and things being said and what we witnessed, the tragic events of Grenfell, if I could do it again, then I should have, as we discussed, provided a definition of the term filler. And so that's one other thing. And then the one final thing, I suppose, from my experience of some 30 years in construction, predominantly building regulations as an enforcer and then a regulator, is that when the 1984 Building Act was cast, it was done so in a certain time. And what was known then in terms of levels of competency, appreciation and understanding of regulatory systems, how then moving forward people interpreted the building regulations and similar. Things would appear to have changed over the years, and things in terms of people's appreciation, people's understanding. When you have a devolved system like the 84 Building Act, and it is a devolved system, sometimes you do need to take a step back and a snapshot and have a look as to how the legislation was initially predicated and how it was working collectively in the marketplace in terms of understanding and competency of professionals and similar. If I could do it all again, I'll do it differently. I would have not have got it, but I would have pushed for some form of review, an independent review of the regulatory system, because the Act had been in place for some 30 years. And maybe from that we could have gleaned some of the failings that some might suggest have come before this inquiry.
Thank you very much. Well, Mr. Burd, again, it remains for me to thank you for that and for the rest of your evidence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, well, thank you, Mr. Burd. It's been very interesting to hear what you said in response to that really quite difficult question. And we are very grateful to have heard from you and to have had that little coda to your evidence as a whole. So thank you very much indeed. And now you are free to go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Millett. We will resume at 10 o'clock tomorrow with the next witness.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you very much.